rumors are floating around that Tesla is considering exporting Model 3s built from GigaShanghai to other countries around the world, including Singapore, but also Australia, New Zealand, and even some parts of Europe. This report comes from Bloomberg, who has a decent track record with this kind of stuff, and there's a lot of different ways to interpret this information. I think there's some good, some potentially bad, but it's not really that bad, so don't freak out about it. So if you're shorting Tesla stock, you might be instantly jumping to, well, there's a demand problem because they're clearly not selling enough cars at the GigaShanghai factory and they just don't know what to do with them, so they better just start shipping them around the world. I don't think that's the case here. From what the numbers we've seen with Model 3 sales and registrations in China, they've been doing very, very well, and I don't think that's the problem here. I think that GigaShanghai is exceeding expectations, and let's be honest, they overall just build a much better vehicle than the Model 3 coming out of Fremont, and because of where GigaShanghai is located in China, they're much, much closer to a lot of these countries they want to export to compared to Fremont, which is the exception of maybe Europe, but the truth is the vehicles that Tesla's producing out of Fremont have a more dated assembly line, they have older technology, and the more up-to-date, efficient assembly line out of Shanghai results in better quality control. It also results in getting newer parts and newer implementations faster. I don't know if Elon or Tesla has ever referenced this type of thing, but in my opinion, GigaShanghai is probably designed to be updated more frequently when new parts or new design techniques become available, because it sounds like we're getting reports that China is going to be implementing tons and tons of heat pumps into the Model 3, which does mean internal redesign, and there's lots of talks going around now about all the changes coming to the Chinese-made Model 3 first, okay? They come to this factory, and then hopefully Fremont can eventually catch up, but there's changes like the power to trunk, the chrome delete, the updated center console, an updated frunk, an updating steering wheel as well, and hopefully that of course means the octo valve, and my hope is that something like the rear unibody casting press that we saw with the Model Y, hopefully that could be brought to the Model 3 as well to help with cost efficiencies. But I think operating margins and the amount of money it takes to build a Model 3 out of GigaShanghai is the primary driving force here, because obviously, best case scenario, you're able to build the car in the country you're delivering it in, but Tesla can only act so fast and build factories so quickly. They are building factories and putting them up at a record pace, but the truth is the first cars coming out of Giga Berlin are going to be the Model Y, and Tesla knows they've got a lot of firm competition in Europe from the VW ID3 and the Zoe and the Polestar 2, and of course importing cars overseas is going to add a lot to import tariffs, it's going to add a lot to shipping, but because the operating costs of building a Model 3 in China are so low, it might make a whole lot of sense for them to start shipping them from GigaShanghai instead of Fremont, where the profit margins on the American-made Model 3 are much, much lower. So perhaps exporting vehicles from GigaShanghai can help them have more price-competitive vehicles by the end of this year, which is when Bloomberg is saying they might start exporting these vehicles, or Q1 of 2021, which by then Giga Berlin will still not be quite operational, and again, once it is operational, it'll be building Model Ys, not the Model 3. So until Giga Berlin is capable of manufacturing the Model 3, it might make sense to start pulling them from China instead of the US factory, because the operating margins over at Shanghai are so much lower. So if that could hopefully result in more competitive pricing in Australia, New Zealand, and Singapore, I think this is a win, and I think it could save Tesla money in the long run, not having to ship things out of the Fremont factory, and that can help kind of free up some of the assembly lines there, and they wouldn't have to worry so much about, you know, whether it be right-hand drive units at that factory or being bottlenecked by them trying to ramp Model Y production at the same time, still keep building all these Model 3s for different countries around the globe. And in my opinion, the more vehicles we can deliver that are not coming from Fremont, the better, because GigaShanghai has some next level quality control. It's got the heat pump, it's got the octo valve soon, hopefully, if they start implementing these by the end of the year. And those vehicles would be much, much better suited for the winter because of their heat pump and range efficiencies. And since there's a lot of colder climates up there in Europe, I don't see why you would keep building the 4 Europe Model 3s in California if they're not going to be rocking the most up-to-date hardware internally. And personally, I think that GigaShanghai is just an efficiency machine. They're able to produce vehicles much, much better than they thought, and they're going to keep catering to the growing Chinese demand they're experiencing over there, but just because they're willing to ship vehicles out of the country doesn't necessarily mean there's a demand problem. And we're going to see whole new waves of success out of GigaShanghai once the Model Y assembly line is up and running, which should just be in a couple months now. And there's even a chance that they could start exporting some of those Model Ys to different countries, because Fremont doesn't seem very interested in shipping Model Ys outside of the United States. And it could be a while before Giga Berlin is capable of making Model Ys that would go to a country country like Australia. So shipping Model Ys from Shanghai to Australia probably just makes the most financial sense, and I think this is a good move for Tesla. They're probably going to save a lot of money this way, and people overseas will get better quality control, better, more up-to-date vehicles as well with better range and efficiency. Is there a point here that I'm not missing? Because I read this as a great idea, and I see a lot of people looking into it as a horrible mistake. I could be wrong here, so feel free to let me know what you guys think of this. Thank you all for watching. Hope you have an excellent rest of your day. Take care.